We are not alone. You are watching Contact TV with your hosts, Leslie Mitchell-Clark
and Wes Roberts,
exploring ufology, metaphysics, and beyond with the world's foremost experts. And we are here at Alien Cosmic Expo in Toronto, and this is June 22nd, 2018, and I am here with certainly one of my heroes, but one of the, let's see, how shall we say it, one of the progenitors, really, of the ufology movement. Are you embarrassed, Stanton? No, it's not.
Not particularly. What the hell, after all these years,
what the hell? You
deserve
deserve it, man. You deserve it. So we're here with Stanton Friedman, and Stan, how does it feel now? I know you're coming down to a point where you're not going to be making so many personal appearances anymore.
I'm retiring this year.
You are retiring.
It's been a long haul. I read my first book in 1958, gave my first lecture in 1967. Mm-hmm. That's a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Here I am, 700 lectures plus later. A lot of miles on the old bod.
Aww.
And I'll be 84 next month.
Oh, you're just
so
a kid.
It's time.
Yeah.
But I've been very fortunate. I've lectured in 19 countries, mm-hmm. all 50 states, all 10 Canadian provinces. Mm-hmm. I get around.
You do.
And I've given over 700 lectures and done hundreds of interviews and stuff. And I've enjoyed it. I mean, met an awful lot of people, nice people. And people often tell me, you must get a hard time because they know come on very strong. Mm-hmm. That some UFOs are alien spacecraft, we're dealing with the cosmic Watergate, there are no good arguments, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But I don't get a hard time. I've only had 11 hecklers, and I can't remember the last one. Mm. And 2 of them were drunk, so, you know. So it's been a real opportunity for me to put my finger on the pulse of the world, so mm-hmm. to speak, because mm-hmm. I always have a question and answer period.
Yes, you do.
So
yeah.
I've enjoyed it, and there have been very few rocky moments. I mean, sometimes traveling can be. I recently went to Arkansas, and it took 4 planes from Fredericton, New Brunswick to Arkansas.
And then why did you go there, Stan? Below
to give
the
a lecture at
Mason-Dixon
a
line.
conference, of course.
And they were, we get, as an expatriate American, I'm afraid that we often get used to the idea that in the southern United States, we're dealing with, inbred cretins a lot of the time. But that's not really true.
No,
that's a generalization. And
I've lectured in all 50 states.
Not really descriptive of
No.
who's living in the southern United States.
No, I've enjoed my travels even in the southern United States,
mm-hmm,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And in northern Canada.
We have rednecks too. Just say that
yes.
for the record. We have our own rednecks.
Yes. But it's been an interesting, certainly not what I would have expected. When I got my second degree from the University of Chicago, mm-hmm. my first job was with General Electric. And my dad worked for the same company, American Scientific, for 37 years, and I'm going to work for General Electric, and they've got 3 nuclear divisions. I can retire when I'm 57. That's great. 3 years later, I was ready to go. I left, and I told them I didn't think this place would be here. And a year or 2, 16 months later, the project was canceled. Mm. And that's what it's been. I didn't know that you switch companies from place to place.
And that would be sort of a descriptive of your career. It was going to be itinerant in a way that you didn't expect.
Yes. Yeah. Entirely different from what I expected. Mm-hmm. But look, I've had an opportunity to work on a lot of exciting programs, even if they were canceled. And I'll tell you, it was a great joy in my life when the nuclear rocket engine program that I worked on, where the system worked mm-hmm. and met design goals for power and temperature and all this kind of thing. And it was only after we started to listen to the live reactor working, mm-hmm. nuclear rocket reactor, that I suddenly realized I had been asked 2 weeks before, Stan, we're not sure of the nuclear heating rates on the control systems. Mm-hmm. Can you get us some data? So I was very busy. And I said, yeah, it's okay. And then I realized as we started the test, if this thing fails, they're going to blame me.
Mm. Yeah.
But it worked out okay. And so it was a good experience being in industry, despite all the canceled programs and feeling like an itinerant kind of thing, but get to see the world, be a ufologist once I got out in the real world. And you know what I got convinced of is that everybody everywhere is interested in what's going on out there and what's coming here. And they have serious questions. I've only had 11 hecklers, and 2 of them were drunk. And I don't worry about. You get that many if you talk about sports, religion,
Indeed, you
politics,
do. Anything, yeah.
So, I feel privileged to have had a chance to talk to people in, Istanbul, Turkey, and in Australia, and in Argentina, and in Saudi Arabia. I had friends saying, Stan, you're Jewish. You're going to Saudi Arabia? And so I checked, I called and said, well, I don't want to get there and have somebody say you can't come in. And she said, no problem. We've had other Jewish speakers at our conference, and they were all great, and there was no problem. And I must say, I haven't been to Japan, but I've been to China and Hong Kong, which is part of China. But and I'm proud to be an Earthling. But what I've found is that there's great interest in the subject. There's great appreciation of the fact that there is data to be presented, real facts and information and so forth. And so it's been a hell of a career. And it turns out I didn't know it at the start. I'd been in a couple of high school plays. And the only reason I went out for them is because the debate team was canceled. My senior year, the principal and the debate instructor got into it. So I might as well do something. So I tried out for a couple of plays. And here I am. I've been treading the boards ever since, as somebody would say.
You're the man who came to dinner.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I mean, and the debating stood me in good stead.
Indeed.
I might say that would lead you into lawyers or the debaters. But it taught me a couple of things. One was never lie. Always put the facts on the table. And the second one is be prepared to know both sides of the question, because you may be debating on the other side. You never know before a tournament or something. And the state championship debate team when I was in high school. And the only reason I got on the stage is because they canceled the debate teams. I might as well do something. And so I could try out for the play, and you got to practice and all that sort of stuff. And I found I enjoyed it. I'm a ham. It's not kosher, but I'm a ham.
I had some kosher ham, I thought, at lunch. Do you think they were fooling me? I asked for the kosher ham.
That's funny.
No, thank you.
No, so we're dealing with a subject that touches on all of mankind, womankind, peoplekind, earthlings, etc. And that's kind of good, because it broadens your outlook. What do we look like to them?
Yeah.
And so it's been a great experience to see what, and sometimes you get strange moments in the question and answer period. Somebody says, how about polling this audience? I talked about Gallup poll results.
Oh, yes, yeah.
The greater the education, the more likely to believe in flying saucers, which surprises people.
Indeed, true.
And I said, well, I don't normally ask the audience to stick their neck out. That's my job. Well, I don't think anybody will mind. Everybody applauded. So, okay. I'll ask 2 questions. How many believe some UFOs are intelligently controlled extraterrestrial spacecraft? And how many believe no UFOs are intelligently controlled extraterrestrial spacecraft? More than 90% said they thought some were, which was rather comforting.
It is,
And I think that's in keeping with the kind of questions I get, with the attitudes I get. People think I must get a hard time because I come on very strong. I'm not an apologist ufologist.
No, you are not. No.
Tell it like it is.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid. If you can back up your position with facts, speak out. What's to be afraid of? What are they going to do to you? So I have found that I enjoy being on the stage. I appreciate the attention, But I also enjoy the fact that I've had a chance to speak to so many people in so many
my goodness,
places.
yes.
And
Yeah.
on many campuses, I will do classroom visits too. And that's kind of a kick sometimes because some of the instructors expect that they're going to give you a hard time. They don't.
No.
Well, partly because most of them don't know anything about the subject.
Right.
And once they realize that I was somebody who had done his homework, then they back off a little bit. Maybe I should, they're surprised. And I remember at a couple of places I've been told that they were very surprised at how many people had seen a UFO, how positive the response was, and all that
Indeed.
sort of thing. So I'm not a masochist. I don't do this for the slings and arrows of
Right.
outraged believers. If there are believers out there, not many of them non-believers, not many of them come to my lectures. I guess.
Indeed, that's true.
Don't bother me with the facts. My mind's made up, Mr. Friedman.
Stan, you told me something fascinating a few years, well, not just one thing, but a few things fascinating over the past several years. One of the things that I always, and I repeated this in my little lecture earlier, you posited that in a binary system, if a civilization on a planetoid or planet can understand how their sun works, then they're going to understand nuclear fission, and then they're going to be able to have interstellar space flight.
Nuclear fusion, especially.
Yes.
That's how the stars work. Yeah, it's one of the myths that we're stuck here on this planet. We can't go anywhere. That means nobody can come here because we're the smartest ones around, of course,
Of course, yeah.
And I was involved in a study of nuclear fusion for deep space propulsion in 1962. We had an Air Force contract for $9 million to look at the subject. And the conclusion was, if you got the dough, you can go.
Yeah.
It's going to be expensive. All right. But I learned a long time ago, all large-scale development programs are expensive.
Yeah.
And I told somebody yesterday, I think, that when I was working on nuclear airplanes at General Electric in 1958, our budget was $100 million. And they looked at me, $100 million? I said, yeah, 3,400 people, 1,100 of them engineers and scientists. And that wasn't the biggest program around. And $100 million was a lot of money in 1958.
Indeed.
I've been out there with the big guys in terms of the money. And what was nice I've been fortunate to be able to work on real things. I mean, I listened to the successful test of our nuclear fission rocket reactor propulsion system on the ground. Unfortunately, we didn't go anywhere. But so it's nice when stuff you've worked on comes to fruition. It's not just paper studies.
Indeed, it's practical then.
I'm not just a paper study kind of guy.
No.
So you learn a lot about the universe when you start looking at the real world around. How do the stars work? 100 years ago, a star is a mass of burning gas. That's how it produces the energy, No, it isn't. It's a nuclear fusion device, which is a whole other ballgame. And so you come to appreciate the need for man's mind to be involved in what he's doing. Progress comes from doing things differently in an unpredictable way. That's one of my
Brilliant.
mantras, Don't just keep doing what you've been doing. You got to change how you do things. And, and I'm a nuclear guy, but let's face it. In World War II, a submarine could stay underwater for 24 hours. A German U-boat, you see it in the crossword puzzles, 24 hours, because you need air and you're underwater. Now, a nuclear-powered submarine, it's not burning anything, can go around the world underwater, which is pretty nifty.
Yeah.
A nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, which is a huge monster, over 1,000 feet long, carries 75 little airplanes which can operate for a couple hours if you're lucky before they run out of gas. But a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier can operate for 18 years without refueling. So that's what I mean when I say progress comes from doing things differently. It's not just a little better than the last system.
Right.
It's a hell of a lot better. And also, our own picture of ourselves, Bishop Usher, 1650 or so, had figured out he was a sex fiend. He went through the Bible and all the begats and figured out that the world was created in 4004 BC. I don't know whether he said it Thursday afternoon or not, but anyway. So about 6,000 years. Now we know that the world is, say, 4 billion years old, and there are places out there that are 13 billion years old. But they don't work by burning gas.
No.
Progress comes from doing things differently, darn it.
Indeed.
And unless you learn that, you're stuck. You're not going to make much progress, kind of thing. So it's been exciting for me to develop some understanding. Also, you're trying to figure out what aliens are all about. Why would they come here? People ask me that. What are they doing here? What do they want? And I say, well, I've never talked to an alien. I don't know. But here's a list of reasons for coming here. One is to keep us from going out there.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't that be you find a primitive society like ours whose major activity is tribal warfare.
Yeah, violence and tribal warfare. That's our main thing.
Would you want them out there? But why would you come here? To keep us from going out there, to quarantine us, to steal the goodies. It turns out, and most people don't seem to know this, Earth is the densest planet in the solar system.
It is.
A cubic foot of Earth weighs more than a cubic meter of any other planet in the solar system. And you say, who cares? Because that means there are more heavy metals there. Things like osmium, iridium, uranium, gold. We know something about those. Look at all the people who went trotting about looking for gold, So maybe they've been stealing goodies. Maybe we're somebody's colony. What I laughingly say is, this is a penal colony. They dumped all the bad boys and girls here, and that's why we're all so nasty to each other. How else can you explain the stupid actions that men take? The military budget on the planet this year is $1 trillion.
Yes.
How many kids died of starvation last month?
It's appalling.
Well, it is one of those things you say, what's with these idiots?
Yeah. Well, we're being led by a fascist right now, who was illegally elected, but elected nonetheless. And so things are really at a critical point,
I'm
Stanton.
very much concerned, even though I live in Canada.
Well, me too, but I'm still a New Yorker. I'm still a New Jersey girl, and my heart is still breaking for everything that's going on. Breaking, we're very blessed to be living in Canada with a
Yes, we are. I'm a dual citizen, and I'm
Yeah.
proud of my Canadian citizenship. I play both ends. When I go in the
Yeah.
United States, I'm an American. When I come home to
Yeah.
Canada, I'm
Well,
a Canadian.
they
When I
make
go
us-
overseas,
Yeah.
I'm a Canadian.
Well, me too. If I have to leave anywhere, I use my Canadian passport.
Yes.
Stanton, now, in your extreme knowledge, really, as a nuclear physicist, do you think that there is, in fact, solid evidence that there was a nuclear catastrophe in the Middle East because they found vitrified sand, they found signatures, allegedly, and of course, we're talking about like Sodom and Gomorrah, perhaps, or that would be the area of concern.
It wouldn't surprise me if there had been previous civilizations here. For one thing, guys out there coming here to colonize, maybe, to steal the goodies, whatever reason. Who knows the history of the planet? We don't know much about the history.
We have cultural amnesia. We really don't know.
That's a nice phrase. When Henrik Schliemann discovered Troy, he had to dig down 70 feet, for God's sakes. We haven't explored much of the planet 70 feet down.
No, we have
So
not.
we don't know what there has been here before. Our knowledge of history is pretty small.
Yeah.
Real history. And also part of it is we don't think anybody that lived before could do anything that we can't do. There's an attitude, aren't we special?
An elitist kind of thing about, look, we've arrived, we have peanut butter and jelly. We've got it all together. Do you think, Stan, and perhaps next year at this convention there'll be a little more about that, but now in my practice as a hypnotherapist, if you remember, that's my main thing. I am now having many, many people who come to me who have very legitimate stories about being involved in a, sort of a black ops military operation that continued on without the knowledge of persons like yourself. That this perhaps began during the era of Truman and continued through Eisenhower. But do you think, in your knowledge of how the government works, you've played ball with these boys, you know what they're like, do you think this is possible?
What?
That there was in fact a black budget during the Truman era, and we have a Mars Defense Force and a Lunar Defense Force and an entire sort of infrastructure, military infrastructure, operating on technology that has been suppressed or hidden from the American people.
I would say it's possible. I don't believe that's the case because I'm so smart I would know about it.
They would have asked you, right?
Well, the point is usually if you develop something, you use it. Mm-hmm. We have a little Cold War on this planet. We threaten each other routinely kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so my feeling is that somehow we would know something about this and the balance of power might be a little bit different. I'm not saying it's impossible. Secrets can be kept. Look, we developed nuclear aircraft carriers, okay? I'm sorry, we developed the Corona spy satellite.
Yes.
We knew the U-2 was going to go down, and it did. There were 12 failures before we made the 13th one work, the first Corona spy satellite. That's a lot of dough that went down.
That is a lot of dough.
Okay, they kept the program secret the whole life of the Corona satellite. And I get a real kick of how do they recover the film. This was a spy satellite. Kodak developed special cameras. Okay, so how do you get the information back? You deorbit the film. So when it's over the Pacific, you release something and the canister goes down and an Air Force plane comes along with a big net
and picks
and
it
grabs
up.
the film. It's science fiction.
Yeah.
That whole program was secret all during its life. We had a lot of successful Corona spy satellites. So I'm not saying you can't keep secrets. I'm the first one to say you can keep them. But if you're going to talk Cold War, you want to let your opponents know that you're bigger and stronger and more powerful than they are.
Yeah.
You know.
And we didn't pose in that way,
No.
perhaps.
No. So there are a lot of good science fiction plots that have been talked about from countries describing what must have gone on, secret this and secret that. And most of this is in my gray basket, maybe. Because having worked under security, I know you can keep secrets. On the other hand, this would change the balance of power. You know, and I don't think we've done that yet. So we may all be in for a big surprise.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be 84, and I'm not expecting during my lifetime we'll find out about it.
Well, Stan, 84 is the new 44.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
that's good to know.
think you are going to be around to see some amazing disclosure events in the next couple of years. I really believe that.
Send me a wire.
I will. And let me ask you just one more question before I let you go. How is the progress of the film Magic Men about the Majestic 12 project going?
Well, they renewed the option. That's all I can tell you.
Okay.
I haven't heard any more about progress. I've been waiting. I've been hoping. My book is still waiting. I mean, that would sell a lot of books.
Yeah.
Majestic 12, Operation Majestic
Well,
12.
if they're smart, they'll jump on that.
Well, you know, it's a good story.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if we found out more about what's going on. I was so disappointed. You know, last December 16th, the New York Times had a front page story about UFOs and the secret study that was done and all that sort of thing. Wow, and when you look at the backgrounds of the people, Luis Elizondo and so forth, these are very impressive resumes. So I've been waiting. Now, there's $22 million in secret. That's peanuts, but still. You would expect there to be reports written. that goes without saying. I worked on enough government-sponsored programs. You got to write reports.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So where's the reports? Darn it! Come
where are
on,
the
guys,
reports?
get it out there.
Yeah.
And it's not a trivial question.
No.
I would like to see some of those reports. So now you begin to wonder: was that all baloney? I don't think so. But so it should be interesting within the next 6 months. But where's the press following up on that?
Yeah. Why? Why are they not? Well, you know, they're really, you know, when you speak of the press, it's quite a different ball game than it was a few years ago.
Yes.
You're not talking about the written word anymore, really. You're talking, well, we don't even have to get into that. But Stan, I just want to thank you personally for your incredible contribution to the science, to the openness, to the
Ufology forever.
yes. And I know you're saying this is your retirement, but I'm going to choose to live in denial of that for a while. Okay. Marilyn
Yes.
doesn't have to, but I will.
Okay.
And we look forward to seeing you. I know I'm going to see you before too long. Can I give you a little kiss? Is that all right?
Sure.
Oh, mwah. Thank you, Stan. We love you. You take care.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for Contact TV. Thank you for watching Contact TV.
We would like to thank our generous sponsors, Lightwork Hypnosis, UFOria and the UFOria Chronicles, Earth Mystery News, Conspiracy Culture Books, MUFON Canada, Free Experiencers, the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters, and Variety Store Productions.
For guest booking information, please email Wes Roberts at producer@contacttv.ca. And don't forget to join us on Facebook and Twitter.